again, fight fans. I am Jason Burgos for Sherdog.com, and I'm joined by a fighter who has had a long road to finally earning an opportunity in the world-famous UFC Octagon. After 13 years and having previously competed in organizations like World Series of Fighting and Fight Nights Global, he will join the UFC roster on September 21st in Mexico City at UFC on ESPN Plus 17. And that man is the well-traveled Tyson. Tyson, congratulations on getting what you worked so long and hard for. And thank you for giving me some time tonight in the lead up to this really important moment in your career and your life.
Thank you to everybody.
Now, when the call comes from the UFC that you finally get this opportunity, and at least it wasn't something like it was on a 5 days notice kind of thing like some people get. When it comes, were you at a point in your career where you were like, I mean, if the UFC doesn't happen, I'm fine. You know, I can go anywhere else. I'm doing fine for myself. Were you at a point like that, or was being in the UFC still a huge motivator for you every day when training in your career now?
It definitely was a huge motivator, but you know, like I've knocked out Eduardo Dantes in 2012 due to contract dispute that didn't happen.
Yep.
I knocked out Ali Bagutinov, the former #1 UFC contender, due to contract dispute that didn't happen. So, the UFC was always a huge driving factor for me, but at the same time, I wasn't going to hold my breath anymore because not only once, but twice now I've been denied my chance. But, you know, so when I get that call, it's kind of like just this huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders that I get to finally scratch off that my biggest goal on top of my list or anyone's list in a mixed martial arts career.
Now you mentioned Alcaraz Access too. Is it relief? Is there any also like frustration? Like, damn, why did it take so long? Is there kind of anxiety because okay, it's finally here. I'm gonna be in the octagon. Is it all of those things? Like, is there a lot of emotions with this leading up to this fight in a few weeks?
Yeah, there's a lot of mixed emotions. You know, love, hate. You know, everything. Just because you know. I know I'm one of the best in the world. I should have been here for a long time now, but you know, I guess 2019 is when I get to show the world and everyone in the U.S. that I am the best in the world and that I should have been here for a very, very long time now.
And like I mentioned, you've been in the sport for 13 years, since 2006 from what I read. Were there ever any other close calls from the UFC over, you know, a very long career? Were there ever times that maybe, you know, they had reached out and it didn't happen? Maybe your management reached out, it was negotiations, early stages, but it didn't happen. Anything like that before this?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, in 2012, I knocked out the former #1 Bellator champion. At the time, he was the current Bellator bantamweight champion, Eduardo Dantes. He was running through guys. He was like on a 7-8 fight winning streak, just knocking people out. And, you know, I knocked his ass out in the first round up in Rio de Janeiro, his hometown, which actually I was supposed to have been on top of the tournament for Bellator, but they kind of cut it away. So it's kind of like, okay, I'm free and clear. But then I guess Eduardo Dantes wanted to stay active. So that's why we fought in Chuto, Brazil. I was supposed to be in his sacrificial lamb, but kind of threw a monkey wrench up in there. And of course, the UFC wanted to pick me up right away. But due to contract dispute and that asshole Bjorn Rebney kind of put a stop to everything. I was supposed to have fought I believe I was supposed to have fought Uriah Faber when it was like Christmas Eve or something like that sort. Yeah, but that didn't go through. But yeah, and again in 2017, I mean, you knock out a former #1 UFC contender that Mighty Mouse didn't even finish. I'm pretty sure that the UFC wants you, but due to contract disputes, Fight Nights Global, they wouldn't allow me to fight outside of their contract because, you know, kind of knocked out and humiliated their country's hero. So yeah, so two times. I guess 3 times a charm for me.
Well, let me like clear it up for people because you're saying contract dispute. So you're saying that both for the first time we mentioned Bellator and Bjorn Rebney. So that means that you were contracted to Bellator, even though you didn't fight that fight with Dantes in Bellator. You were still like contracted to Bellator, and then also for the Fight Nights Global, you were both times still like fighters for those organizations, and they wouldn't let you fight outside. You had more fights on your deal with them or something?
Well, for Bellator, they said that they had matching rights, even though, you know, I signed to fight in the tournament. they went back on top of their word and they cut the entire tournament. So, of course, to me and any person with any common sense, okay, I don't fight for I no longer belong to that promotion.
Right.
I haven't even fought for them, and they cut it out. So, but somehow because I knock out their champion, they bring out all these matching rights, and then that's when Bellator, the World Series of Fighting, and the UFC was whoever bid the highest won my contract, which was the World Series of Fighting at that point. Fight Nights Global, that was my first of 4 fights under contract. 4 fights or 2 years. And since I was supposed to have been a sacrificial lamb again, that was Ali Bagutino's first fight after being released from the UFC. Supposed to have been his first win, but 2 times now I throw monkey wrenches all up in their promotion. Fuck them all.
Now, you mentioned Fight Nights. Fight Nights is a promotion that's doing big things, and in Russia, but also international. But a lot of fans in the West maybe don't know, but they know organizations like you mentioned, Bellator. You're contracted in the Bjorn Rebney era. There's PFL, and fans are now starting to get one championship in the last few years, because you've been on a very good run the last few years. Were you at all contacted by them? Forget UFC. Did Bellator with Scott Coker running it, or one championship, or PFL in these last 2 seasons? Did they ever reach out to you, and you had any interest from them?
I may have had a couple of messages from different people, but there's 3 letters on my mind: UFC. That was all that was on top of my mind. Nothing else in any other promotion would have satisfied this thirst and this hunger that I've had for such a long time now. And so it's just such a
And I mentioned, like, one of the best things about this for you is that the fight was announced in the last few weeks, so you have about a month of time to prepare for this fight. Now, you've seen a lot of situations with a lot of new fighters, even got LFA champions, that they get like 5 days notice, 6 days notice, like really short notice fights. You're getting a really tough opponent, and Sergio Pettis. Is there some relief for you? Like, shit, thank God I didn't get like 5 days notice. I at least got a lot of time prepared for this, not just Pettis, but this important moment for me.
I'm always ready. It doesn't matter to me. 2 days, 2 hours, I'll punch a motherfucker in the face. Right? But, at the same time, I am very grateful that, I've had a couple more weeks than most to get ready.
Yeah.
But I have been very active here in Hawaii as of recent, ever since I got off the Fight Nights Global, and, the promotions out over here with X1. I mean, they've been putting high-level guys, pushing them into the UFC for many a years now, and I'm added to the roster from X1 up into the UFC. We got a lot of great talent here in Hawaii. We're a small little rock with a bunch of people that love to fight. We eat shit and fight and do it all over again the next day. We love this shit.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I've actually talked to a decent bit of Hawaiian fighters in the last few months. Or the last year, I talked to Ray Cooper. I talked to Angela Lee. I've talked to Lima Lee McFarland. And the island is really coming up. Like, Hawaiian MMA really is coming up. And like, what does it mean to you to be a part of this movement? Because it's legit. You got Yancy Medeiros, you got Max Holloway, you got a ton of fighters from Hawaii doing great. But like, talk to me about the importance of that for you, and also, where are you training at? What's your camp? Are you working with any notable fighters that fans may know and appreciate and respect? Like, what's your training situation right now?
It means so much to me. For a while, like I said, I know I'm one of the best in the world, and I just needed to be noted that I'm fighting in the Super Bowl of MMA, which would be the UFC, to get added to that roster. So it means so much to me to know that in my weight class and in my era right now, that I'm one of the best in the world, especially here in Hawaii and in the world. Worldwide. But I train out over here out at Hawaii Elite. We got a bunch of guys that have gone to UFC. Russell Doan, Louis Smoka used to train. I fly Ricky Simone from Vancouver, Washington, to come over here to be my punching bag, slap around his mullet a little bit. But we got so many high level guys, and even like our amateurs and our guys with a couple of professional fights, they're on the rise. Like I said, this is all we do. We punch each other in the face on a daily basis, and we get better. We help out each other, and I don't know what it is, but maybe it's something in the water, it's something in the air, but man, we just love physical contact. We love competition, which drives us to be better. Where Hawaii is a warrior class group of people dating way back when, and I mean it still lives today. We're your modern gladiators out over here on this little rock.
After a one-fight run for Sergio Pettis, who you're going to fight in a few weeks at bantamweight, things didn't go well for him. He lost to Rob Fines, going back to flyweight and to face you. Like, what do you think going into this fight? What makes him a difficult test? Because he was very good at flyweight, one of the better fighters for the last few years, near contendership, maybe title contender. What makes him a difficult test for you, and makes him just a difficult test for anyone at the weight class? And what's been his success at flyweight? What makes him unique?
He's number 5 in the world, which means he's one of the best. Whether it be his kickboxing, his boxing. I mean, I'm pretty sure he trains pretty consistently every day. But I've seen it all. For 13 years, I've fought against some of the best. Like I said, I've fought Ali Bagutinov, which is the former number 1 UFC contender. There's not going to be a lot that he's going to throw at me that I'm going to be like, ooh, wow. Yeah. I've stood there right there in the fire for many years now. So you're not going to shell shock me with anything. So, but I mean, he's very good. He's very skillful. And that's what I love. I love competition. I love a one-on-one, man-to-man, hand-to-hand, combative sport, which is what makes it so great. You ain't got no other person to blame but yourself if you win or lose. I mean, of course, you have a lot of people helping you out in many of the aspects of the game. Yeah. But at the same time, only you can do bad, and which is what drives me even more, because I never want to do bad. I would be pissed if I made a fool out of myself on national television. So we'll try and always make it exciting.
Now, on the flip side, what are you going to bring to him, that he maybe hasn't seen in his 22 fights of his career? What unique attributes are you going to bring? What looks are you going to possibly show him that's going to make it a real long night for him on the 21st?
When I touch people, they get hurt. When I make contact with people, they go to sleep. At the flyweight division, I put people to sleep. There's not a lot of flyweights that got like a one strike knockout power. So, I mean, he better put his hands high. He better squeeze onto something, because it's coming hard and it's coming fast.
What's fascinating about like the flyweights right now is there was a time, maybe a year or two ago, that a lot of us were thinking maybe flyweights in the UFC are a done thing. It's not happening anymore. You got flyweights leaving, getting released. I mean, Pettis was a perfect example. He moved up in weight because the idea was flyweight was over, but it seems like it's starting to come back. You got a lot of guys making a name for themselves, a lot of guys, new kind of faces coming up in this division where you really can move up really fast with a big win like this, and it's the division that's dying for new stars. Is that part of like an extra excitement going to this fight? Because not only trying to get a UFC win and you're being in the UFC, but if you beat Pettis, you're probably in the top 10 already, just that quickly.
I'm number 5. I knock his ass out. Yeah, he's number 5. I knock him out. I keep what I kill. So, but I mean, I don't know. Only the guys in the back know what's going on with the whole flyweight division. I mean, a lot of talks of Henry Cejudo saving the flyweight division. But, maybe they just needed to revamp it or something of that sort, because it was fairly new. And they see all these world-class fighters from overseas, say like Russia or what. They're very good over there in Russia. I know firsthand because I fought over there. And just all these other countries, they have a lot of talent, and especially in the lower weight classes, which people will look over, because they see very technical skills. They move fast. They put a lot of output, but they don't see like that one strike knockout power like a heavyweight would do, which I bring to the table. So I will single-handedly bring this excitement. Don't look at your phone. Don't grab a beer. Just keep your eyes open every single time that I'm right there, because I'm right there from putting someone to sleep at this flyweight division.
Now, what's interesting about your situation, and more people will come to know it as the fight gets closer. You talk to more people like me. You haven't been to the UFC, so in we all know in MMA what we respect about the fighters. It's an unforgiving business, and fighters are not getting paid enough. And everybody thinks you got to go to UFC or maybe one of the other major companies for a long time to make a good amount of money. Now, what has been like your situation in your 13 years? You've been in some of these notable promotions, but maybe not something like the UFC yet. Have you've seen situations where fighters have to have a full-time job, or have you had something like that, or maybe early on you knew how to manage your money and you made investments early on, you own a business? Like, has this fighting outside the UFC been fine for you? You've made a comfortable life for yourself, and it sends a message it's not the UFC only to live a comfortable life as an MMA fighter.
I come from the old school of thought that I never asked for money from people. I know a lot of fighters that want sponsors to help pay for their training so they can just specifically only train all day, every day.
Yeah.
Right. I get bored with myself. I gotta have a job. I gotta have some sort of like stress relief time away from fighting and exercise. I gotta do different things.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since I started, I always had a job. And I will still continue to have a job even though I fight in the UFC, just because, if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. So I'm gonna keep on doing the same exact thing that I've been doing. And, the result pays for itself, with a good head on your shoulders, a good routine, and a healthy diet. I mean, you can do anything up in this career, in this sport. I mean, you just gotta find what works for you. And I think after 13 years, I found what works for me.
And what's the job, the stress releaser for you that gets you away from fighting?
I actually work for a UFC gym out here in Hawaii.
Oh, there you go. That's pretty... So then, people, I'm guessing the private teachings and stuff like that are going to go up real quick once this UFC run begins.
There might be a line, but they still got to wait in that line, because I only can take on so many people. I'm one man with two hands, and I can only do so much. Because, like I said, at the same time, I train full time.
Mm-hmm.
I still work full time,
Right.
so I can't be working double time and be able to still train full time. There's only so much on top of your plate, and after these 13 years of in the business, I know when I've pushed myself too far or had too much on top of my plate. So, like I said, I found just what works for me. Just how much to work, just how much to train. I guess that comes along with the territory. You train, you live smarter, don't do it harder.
If things go well, and 2 years from now you're maybe a champion in the division or contending for the championship, and you're making enough money, would you still want to work? I mean, would you don't think you'd be pulled to just being a fighter, training, and that's it? Would you still need some kind of outside passion, be it work or maybe something else?
I wouldn't change one thing. I wouldn't change one thing. Even when I started, because I got my bachelor's degree in kinesiology, exercise science,
Okay.
and even when I graduated, I was fighting, but I still wanted to pursue helping people with fitness, their lives, whether they wanted to get healthier or maybe learn some mixed martial arts. So it's still a passion. It still feels really good for me when I help people better their lives, because I'm not only counting numbers for them. You get healthier and you change your life as a whole. So just knowing that I'm able to change people's lives, it makes me feel really good inside.
Now, one of the fascinating parts of this fight in Mexico City is Mexico City's at altitude. We've seen really, really talented people, with really good gas tanks struggle with Mexico City. Have you done anything in camp different than the usual to prepare for this crazy altitude that you're going to have to fight into?
I'm pretty sure there's nothing I can do here in Hawaii that will prepare me for that elevation. I'm here at sea level, but when I got the call, I was training for like a 5-round fight.
Mm-hmm.
But still, at the same time, at high altitude, I'm pretty sure, no one will ever really be prepared for that unless you're living there.
Yeah.
Right. So all I can do is train the hardest that I can, and cross my fingers and just hope and pray that I'll be able to give a full 15. minutes.
So I always like to end these interviews asking the subject something that fans may not know, and then they'd be surprised and intrigued about them. That's a personal passion because we know you're fighting. You also have a job training as well. So there's a lot of fighting and martial arts consume your life. But what are some things you really like to do that has nothing to do with fighting, nothing to do with martial arts? Are you a Netflix binger? Are you a movie fan? Are you big into music? Maybe you like to cook. Maybe you do origami, video games. What does Tyson Nam like to do when he's not doing fighting stuff?
I love watching 80s and 90s movies.
Yes! Favorite 80s movie. Tell me, what is your favorite?
Jean Claude Van Damme,
Okay.
Bloodsport, Kickboxer,
Yes.
Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I love all of that shit. I love it all. The Rocky series. Oh my God.
What about the comedies? I'm a Weird Science,
comedies. I love the comedies. Not so much like the Breakfast Club, but maybe just a shy after that. But when I flip on the station, because I'm not a big Netflix guy, I'm not a big TV series guy. I'll try and flip through like FX or TNT, HBO, and see if they got those old school movies on. Big Trouble in Little China. That was my favorite movie when I was growing up.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I wouldn't trade anything for that. I'd rather watch that than a new 2018, 2019 film.
Now,
that's my shit.
Bloodsport is the shit. And I highly recommend, if you don't have it on Blu-ray yet, get it. It's awesome. It feels like it's brand new. Now, everybody loves Frank Dukes. Frank Dukes, Jean Claude's characters always a popular. But who is your favorite character other than Frank Dukes in that movie?
Frank Dukes has got to be Tong Po from Kickboxer.
Oh,
Tong Po, the bad guy.
Yeah.
The bad guy. But
I like the monkey guy. The monkey guy has always been my favorite one.
You like the monkey guy?
Yeah.
he was too small for it to be realistic.
Yeah. And then he went against the sumo guy. It was just too much trouble for him.
Yeah. Size does matter, but Frank Dukes. Just every Jean Claude Van Damme movie out there. I mean, it was my personal favorite. In Hell. Have you seen In Hell?
No, I have not.
Yeah, you need to go watch that one.
That's from back in the day too.
Jean Claude Van Damme, In Hell, prison scene, beating everybody's asses.
What about Cyborg? Do you know Cyborg?
I know all about it.
Wow,
I know all about
that's
it.
what I'm talking about.